Welcome back to the Hollywood Dreammaker podcast. I'm your host, Billy Gallo, and today I'm doing a solo episode. So last night I was teaching a class in my studio, Manhattan Actor Studio in Manhattan Beach, California, and I had my master class, my Monday night master class, and I was talking to my actors about gun safety and fight choreography. And I thought it would be a great episode to share my wealth of information when it comes to gun safety and fighting scenes in a movie or television. So I've been blessed. I've been a working actor for 38 years. And in my first acting job in California, when I was 18 years old, I landed a TV series called The Fall Guy. And it was about Hollywood and stuntmen. And there was a lot of fight scenes in it. And I, was guest starring on the show. And I had a couple of fight scenes in there. And that's when I met, my stuntman. For the first time, I had a stuntman. His name was Tom Elliott. He's a great stuntman. Tom's a legend in the business. He doubled Al Pacino in Scarface. And, I've had some great stunt guys over the years. I had, I had Bob Brown, who's a high fall specialist that doubled me in Night of the Demons. I had Steve Picerni, who comes from the legendary Picerni family. They're big time in stunt coordinators and stuntmen in Hollywood. I've had so many great stunt guys that have doubled me over the years. And I've, played a lot of guys where, my characters got shot or I was shooting at somebody. I played a lot of bad guys in my career. I've been shot so many times, I can't even remember how many times. I mean, I used to have a closet full of bloodied shirts with squib holes in them. If you don't know what squib holes are, when you get shot, they put a little explosive pack on you with a wire running down your leg with a blood pack over it. And it's a little charge that blows open that blood pack. And you got to be really careful when you play with squibs because you can get hurt. You can get, if a squib turns around you, you can burn your skin. That's happened to me before in a shootout scene. You can also, get hurt if you look down. So, it's really important that if let's say you're getting shot in the chest with a squib, you always want to pick up your head. You don't want to look down at where you were just shot, because that could get into your eye, especially if there's multiple bullets, multiple squibs being shot. Now, I did an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger with Chuck Norris. I did a couple episodes, but one of the episodes I get shot. Another episode I was doing, had fight scenes. I played a martial artist. So, both of those shows were very stunt fighting, guns. There was a lot of that. And, it's really easy to get hurt on a set. And, I've been hurt many, many times. When I did a film called Crossing the Mob, and I was fighting a guy and I punched him in his stomach, and he took the hit and he leaned forward and he headbutted me and busted my nose. And next thing you know, I was in an emergency room. Another time I was doing a fight scene on a TV series called Martial Law. And, it was a Sammo Hung, a martial artist. And these fight choreographers were crazy. I mean, they would throw in everything at you and they would come up with stuff on the spot. And, we were doing this elaborate fight scene and I was playing a smuggler of animals at an airport, and Arsenio Hall was a police officer undercover, and he was playing, the guys with the cones that are steering the planes as they come in, and we have this elaborate fight scene, and when they yelled action, Arsenio forgot his choreography, and he smacked me in the mouth with a flashlight and busted my lip, and I had to go get stitches, and, that was it for me, that day on set. There's so many times, Chuck Norris's stuntman, my arms were bruised up and down. I've been injured many, many times, doing fight scenes, and it's a dance and it's choreography, and you really have to, take your time with it. And when you rush stuff, that's when you get hurt. So, I thought it'd be great. A lot of young actors, when starting out, they're doing short films or independent films, and, they don't have a big budget, and they don't have, stunt coordinators, or they may not even have a stuntman. You have to protect yourself as an actor. If, somebody comes on set with a gun, you need to make sure that it is, either a prop gun, or you need to make sure that it does not have live rounds in it. A lot of times on these short films, they don't have prop guns. They may use a real gun. I was filming a movie in Texas, an independent film, and the gun wrangler, I had this old Colt 45, and it was like a big shootout in a house, and there was like 5 people shooting at each other. And the gun wrangler, gave me my gun, and I said, "Well, how loud is it?" And he said, "Well, they're full loads, meaning there's no bullet in them, but they have a full load, so they're very loud. They're the explosion. You can see a flame coming out of the gun." So just as for safety, we went into the kitchen, and I was standing in the kitchen. I said, I want to hear it. So why don't you point it at the refrigerator over there? And he fired the gun, and it was really loud. And when I looked at the refrigerator, it had put a dent in the refrigerator. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, that was going to be pointed at me. I mean, look what it did to the refrigerator. Imagine what it would have done to my face. So, I learned very early on, you never, ever, you got to be very, very careful. Okay. When you're doing a scene, a shootout scene, you're never actually pointing the gun at the other actor. Everything in fights, it's cheated for camera, okay? You got to be really careful that you're not pointing a weapon at an actor. There's been people that have been killed. It's very sad, but there's an actor named John Eric Hexum. He was on set, and he had a gun, and he thought there were blanks in it, and he was doing a scene from Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro, and there's a scene where they're playing Russian roulette, and he put a gun to his head, and he pulled the trigger thinking it's just a blank. Well, that killed him. Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, on a set of Crow, he died from a bullet in the gun. Just recently, Alec Baldwin, was handed a gun, and it had a live round on it, and he fired it, and he killed, a cinematographer. So, it happens all the time, but your job as an actor is to make sure that you become the gun wrangler. You want to be, when you show up to set, you want to have a safety meeting. I just recently worked on a show just a couple of weeks ago, and there was a lot of fight scenes, and there was a lot of gun stuff. And, they were under time constraints, and the pressure was on, and you got one take, and the rehearsal process, there wasn't a lot of rehearsals, but I made sure that I pulled the other actor aside, and I said, listen, I want to go through this. I want to block it out. I want to make sure that we have this, because when they say roll camera and they say action, you got to commit to it. And especially if you're getting one take at it. So, it's really easy to get hurt if there's not, a lot of rehearsal time. And sometimes you don't have a lot of rehearsal time. So, if let's say you're throwing a punch at somebody, you never actually throw a punch, like close to their face. I mean, the punch can be, a foot away. And as long as the angle's right and the other actor sells the punch, it's going to look real. Okay, so one never ever really go close to an actor's face when throwing a punch. You got to be aware that if you throw a punch and the actor reacts to it, and they may come forward and they can easily headbutt you, and you can get hurt. So you always want to make sure that you're protected. You're protecting yourself. You always want to make sure if somebody brings a gun that they do a safety check, and you ask to see the gun. That they take out the clip of the gun. This is a prop gun I have. Some of you on YouTube, you will be able to see it on Inside the Manhattan Actor Studio. If not, but they're pulling out the clip, and they're showing you that it's an empty clip. Okay, there's no round in the clip, and then they want to show you that there's nothing in the chamber. Okay. And you want to make sure if it's a prop gun that you can see that it's not a real gun, okay? But you always, anytime a gun comes on, you want to make sure that the chamber's clear, Even if it's let's say it's a rubber gun, you want to make sure that it's a rubber gun. You make them bend the gun. Okay, this is a rubber prop gun. Okay, but it bends, and there's no way to put around in it. So anytime a gun comes on set, you want to make sure, because a real gun and a prop gun, they look alike. You can't tell them apart. Even a rubber gun and a real gun, so. You have to be really careful. Even when they're putting rounds in the, blanks into it's really easy to mix them up because they look like a real bullet. Especially if you're working on an independent project where you have a gun wrangler that's not, really trained properly. And they, put the gun down, or they're not keeping eyes on the gun, and somehow a real bullet gets in there, and, people have been killed because of it. Okay. So you as actors need to protect yourself. If you don't feel comfortable, you need to open up your mouth. If you show up to a set and they say, okay, well, we're going to do this fight thing, and you're going to get punched, you're going to do it, and you're like, wait a second, this doesn't feel right, then open up your mouth. Okay, say, I would like to rehearse this. Can we block this out? Any professional production is going to say, yeah, they want safety first. You want to be safe. Okay. When you're dealing with fights, you're dealing with guns, you're dealing with squibs, explosives, listen, I'm one that I love doing my own stunts. I've done my own stunts, my own fight scenes for 38 years. Anytime I've done it. I've had stuntmen there. I've had some great stunt guys, but I wanted to do the fight stuff. And luckily for me that I have a background in martial arts, and I've trained, and that's why I've gotten to fight Chuck Norris or Sammo Hung, or I've played a boxer, because I've had that training. So you as actors, you want to get that training. If you're going to be playing these kind of roles, well, then learn. I mean, for me, I know I play cops all the time. I play Navy SEALs. I play, I've played every kind of character. I played Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force. And I've taken the time to train. I went and I trained with the SWAT in Los Angeles. I trained with the LAPD. I've trained with the NYPD. I've trained with the Navy SEALs. I've trained, with the fire department. I've rode along with paramedics. I mean, that's the cool thing about being an actor is, when you creating a character, you want to do your research. You want to spend some time with these characters that you're portraying. If you're playing a cop, you want to hang around with cops. You want to go do ride-alongs. You want to speak with them. You want to spend some time with them. You want to find their behavior. What is it about them? How do they walk? How do they talk? It's all an acting class. It's all in the details. I can't tell you how many times that I've, done a ride along, and I saw a piece of something, and I was like, what is that? And I asked the police officers, like, I'll give you, for instance, I noticed that the cops had a little like hair, like black rubber band around their keys. And I was like, what's that for? And the police officer said, well, you listen, if I'm creeping up in a dark alley on a bad guy, I don't want my keys going jingly jangling and let him know I'm coming his way. So that's why they put a little rubber band. So me as an actor, what do? I show up to set and I say, I could tell the prop guy I want a little black rubber band. And I put it around my keys. Any police officer that sees that goes, oh, that's real. Oh, that's a little detail work. So it's all in the details, and you also want to know, like I played a sergeant in a movie, and, I have chevron sergeant stripes, and I showed up and the amateur wardrobe lady sewed my chevrons on upside down. Now, if I hadn't done my homework and hadn't done ride-alongs and I hadn't taken pictures of, where everything goes in the uniform and the belt and stuff, I would have put that uniform on and I would have filmed that scene, and I would have looked like a joke, because, anybody in the military, anybody who, in the police force would have said, that's the most ridiculous thing. This guy a sergeant has chevrons upside down, chevrons meaning sergeant stripes. So, it's all in the research. So if you're an actor and you're going to be playing these kind of roles, well, why not take some classes? Why not go take some, gun safety, classes, go to a gun range, learn how to handle a gun. I mean, that's what I did. I know I've been blessed, and I've trained with some of the greatest, Sam Humphreys for Soldier of Fortune. I've trained with some real Navy SEALs, some real, people in the LAPD, SWAT that trained me properly how to handle a gun. Now you can do that. You can go to any gun range and you can, learn how to fire a weapon, learn how gun safety, how to hold a gun. Even if they give you a prop gun on set, you don't want to be waving it around. It's a prop, but you got to treat it like it's a real gun. You never have your finger on a trigger. Yeah, you always have the gun pointed down. You never pointing the gun at anybody. Any gun on set or off has to be treated like a real gun, a dangerous weapon that can kill somebody. Okay? Because it happens all the time. I mean, people get hurt. So you want to be safe. You want to protect yourself. Maybe you take a fight choreography class, you learn how to take a punch. I wish there was somebody like me when I came out to Hollywood that told me how to take a punch in Hollywood, how to sell a punch. It's easy to, if you look, I grew up on the streets of Brooklyn. I was fighting since I was, 15, running around the streets fighting. So, I mean, I know how to fight. I've been in many, many fights, but it's a completely different thing when you're, in camera and you're fighting on camera. You have to, the punches are bigger, they're wider, they're coming out. You're having to sell the punch, you're having to sell the hit. So there's a art form to it. So if you're going to be playing these kind of roles, there's plenty of information out there. I'm sure if you go on YouTube and you type in, how do I take a punch? And you find some legitimate stunt coordinators talking about it. You're going to find out some valuable lessons. So I would say, you really want to protect yourself if you're an actor. One, study your craft, okay? You want to be working on your craft. If you're playing a character that's a police officer, you're playing a bad guy, you're dealing with guns, bullets, fights, and stuff like that, start training now. So when you show up to set, you are, way ahead. You're prepared. You know how to, defend yourself. You know how to throw a punch. You got to be able to play a character, and then you have to portray that character realistically. If you don't know how to hold a gun, you're going to look like an amateur if you're playing a police officer. So why not train now? Why not put in the work now? So, when the time comes, you're ready. I mean, this is the time to be working on your craft and your special skills. I can't tell you how many times special skills have gotten me the job. My martial arts training has gotten me, well, once again, to fight Chuck Norris, to fight Sammo Hung. I mean, if I didn't have that training, I would never have gotten that part. My boxing training, I played a boxer in the TV series with Pamela Anderson. If I didn't have that training, I wouldn't have got that part. So, work on your special skills. The more the merrier in this business, because if I'm looking for somebody who can ride a skateboard or surf and you have that skill, you're more likely to get into that audition than somebody that does not have that skill. So one, develop your skills, okay? Know your castability. What kind of roles are you going to play? If you're going to play these kind of roles, then you want to be prepared and you want to be trained. Okay, it's safety first, and you want to protect everyone around. If the production you're working on does not have a stunt coordinator, does not have a safety, a gun wrangler and stuff, you have to be really careful. And if you're running around without permits, doing some guerrilla filmmaking, you got to be really careful too, because you're running around with a prop gun, somebody calls it in, and they call some real police officers and they come on board and they see you with your prop gun. They don't know it's a prop gun, and you can get shot and killed. Okay, so you want to protect yourself. Make sure that you're doing things right. You're not just running around with guns and doing fight scenes in the middle of the street. I mean, believe me, I've done it. As a young filmmaker, I've shot fight scenes in a park, and guess what happened? Yeah, somebody called the cops, and next thing you know, the cops were there surrounding us and wanted to know what's going on. And I haven't explained that we're making a film. And then they want to know, do you have permits to be here? So if you're going to do it right. Okay, make sure you're in a place where you're not going to get in trouble. So create your own projects. Okay, if you want to do something, you want to write a short film, you want to create something, do it. Write it now. This is the time right now. Okay, don't hesitate. Create your own projects. Don't wait for the phone to ring. You get to be the producer. You get to be the writer. You got to raise your flag and have people march behind you. And then you want to surround yourself with talented people. So if you're going to do some fight stuff, find somebody who really knows fight choreography. If you're going to do any kind of gun stuff, find somebody who really knows gun safety. Be safe out there, okay? Really, as actors, you have to protect yourself. Okay, sometimes, producers are under the gun, the clock is ticking, we're losing the light, we're losing the location, we have to get this thing. And, if it's dangerous and there's not enough rehearsal, that's how people get hurt. So make sure right now you're training yourself, you're getting prepared, so when the time comes, you're ready to go. All right, stay safe, stay healthy. And I'll see you in the next episode. And if you haven't gone to my Inside the Manhattan Actor Studio with Billy Gallo on my YouTube channel, please do, because all of the video element of my podcast lives there. And you get a peek inside my class, and there's going to be some great stuff coming your way. So please subscribe, share it with your friends, and I'll see you in Hollywood. Take care.